Welcome to 20 Years of Morrowind podcast. And Morrowind, as you know, is a shared journey that we took on our own. And today we are going to discover one such journey. My guest today is MickyD. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
It's doing great.
It's going great. It's good to hear. My name is MickyD. I'm from the MickyD YouTube channel. It's funny how that works, the same name.
Easy to remember.
Yeah, mostly for my sake. But I'm mainly a kind of a Morrowind content creator. I do a variety of content on my YouTube channel, but I mainly kind of focus on Morrowind. I've been covering Morrowind for a while. It's one of the first videos I did. I still cover it now, every now and again on the channel. My channel is mainly focused on Morrowind mods, but the strange side of Morrowind mods. Maybe the ones that you really have to search for to find, and just the kind of funny, strange, just kind of wacky nature of Morrowind. It's really kind of deep diving into what mod creators were really working with back in the day, and kind of bringing that to light, and I guess showing that to a new audience, which people are always happy to see. I'm always surprised to see what mod creators were doing back in the day with these strange, interesting Morrowind mods, I would say. And I've been doing it for over 2 years now, and it's still going well. People are still happy to see Morrowind content, which I'm absolutely glad to see. I was just recording a Morrowind video before this, so it's all Morrowind recently.
So it's fair to say that 20 years after the game came out, it's pretty important in your life?
Absolutely. It absolutely is. It always had that influence. I would say, like, Elder Scrolls in general. Like, the interesting thing was Oblivion was like the first one I played back in like 2006. And that was the first time I ever played that kind of open sort of game. And the interesting thing is I didn't really play Morrowind until like 2008 or 9, I think it would have been around. So I wasn't there exactly from the beginning, but I played it from Oblivion. But what I played after Oblivion's influence, I was just absolutely obsessed with it, and I got really into it. I was even like creating mods and stuff as a kid, like really kind of small things. But
I didn't know you were modding.
Well, it's modding in a sense. I don't have anything out there or public. It is something I've kind of wanted to get back into, but time now is a huge thing. But it's your basic kind of beginner Morrowind kind of story. Simple kind of house mods, Satanine shacks, Balmora, small houses. I used to make basic kind of caves, which it's funny even saying is I wish I had copies of them, but I used to leave notes in like the middle of roads, and I used to like write. It used to be like the thing that started the quest. It'd be like a dumb thing, like, oh, there's this mysterious cave nearby. It'd just be a letter in the middle of like a road, and then you'd look to the right and you'd see the cave entrance of like a trap door in the floor.
That works.
It was really basic. And then you go inside the cave and it's all the cave like just assets like stitched together really horribly, and there'd be like a few Daedra at the end of the cave, and there'd be like a powerful sword behind it. So it was very basic now, I must say, but it was fun to do back in the day.
Well, definitely. I mean, that's one way to. That's an outlet for creativity.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just happy using the construction set, and it was the first time I've like edited like in-game like items or kind of modded, I guess, in general. And I was young at the time. I must have been like, geez, back then I was 12 or 13 or something, and even to like edit the text in a book, I remember taking the time to learn how to do that. And I opened like a book in like the Access office or something, and I had like the edited text, and I was like, oh my god, I did it. I'm modding, I'm doing it. I'm like programming. It's not programming, but
you know, I'm laughing, but I have nothing to do with computers and programming. I couldn't, code to save my life. But it is true that through Morrowind and modding, I kind of know basic stuff, like you need to put commas the right spot, and you need to close the brackets. That's the extent of it. But joke aside, yes, when you're modding, you're learning, you're getting skills.
You are, absolutely. And even those kind of skills even carry over to like when I used to mess around with like the Skyrim creation kit or the Fallout ones. It's like the Morrowind ones, they pretty much kind of carry over now. They're different in some ways, but you still get the general kind of sense and ideas and shortcuts, and you generally know how to work with it. So I guess in like the Bethesda creation engine sense, you'd be kind of used to it in some sense. Now there's obviously changes and things they do differently, but I think it carries over to that in a useful kind of regard. And plus, too, you hear modders. They're just aspiring game devs, you know, and they want to carry over that knowledge into making their own projects and games, which is always great to see and hear about, you know.
There's a couple of people who, you know, started making Morrowind mods and are now working in the game industry or programming. So that's very neat. Morrowind did that.
Yeah, that's how it all started. It started my career, so I'm kind of thankful for it too in that sense.
What are your inspirations for your videos usually? How does that happen?
It's interesting. I've always kind of liked the kind of quick edited style. The thing about Morrowind content is that I loved a lot of the early kind of Morrowind content, whether it's kind of like modding content, like modding showcases, general kind of let's play content, but I never really saw the style of Morrowind kind of content where it was like there's always like video essays about how Morrowind is great, and that's always cool to see, but I never saw like the videos covering like the really strange mods or like really kind of cool intricate like challenges or anything like that, which kind of have like the production to, I don't know, I just always felt like with Morrowind content it was generally kind of let's plays, which is always kind of cool to see, but I just felt like with games like Oblivion or Skyrim, you look at those videos and they have like all these cool like challenges. Can you beat Skyrim with X? Can you beat Oblivion with X or whatever? And Morrowind was a bit lacking in that kind of regard, so I guess I kind of saw the niche and just tried to do it the best I could. Now, when it comes to influences, I guess I was always influenced by... There's one kind of channel called Many a True Nerd who does like Fallout inspired challenges, and his video editing is kind of clipped up, so you know you're always seeing the best parts, the most interesting parts. That's always been an influence. Like older kind of content creators, there was a guy who used to play Morrowind called Gix way back in the day.
Loved Gix. Oh my god, loved, and I had the crappiest internet, and I remember desperately trying to watch his let's play on the train where there was a crappy connection, and I spent more time looking at the video loading than the video. I absolutely adored Gix's 17, I think, videos.
I think it's going on a long time. It's funny, even if you're going back to those videos, they might not even be HD even looking back, so maybe even watching it on like a phone on the train, it's like, imagine seeing the text at Morrowind, my god. But I just loved his approach. It's really kind of slow and methodical, but he really kind of works it out in that kind of way.
You mentioned...
That was a big inspiration for a long.
Agreed. You mentioned the earlier days of modding and the things that they did. It's super interesting when you talk to old school modders and how they achieve things and super hacky ways of doing things. And that's always super fun and quite interesting. Like, you had to work with the tools that were available.
You absolutely did. And there wasn't much in the way of forums. I mean, they were there, but it's not like... You don't have like a whole Discord of just a whole group of people giving you advice on Morrowind modding or like YouTube tutorials or anything like that. It's just... How do you even got by back in the day? And like, I was lucky when I was doing it at the time. There was like a few YouTube tutorials at the time, and that's how I was able to kind of base it off of and work on that. But how they did it back in the day, it's like it's really admirable, honestly.
I was talking with Dave Humphrey earlier today, who founded the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages, but he also modded Morrowind, and he talked about originally he just had a little blog where he would put information about Daggerfall and then Morrowind, and at the time, it's true, there wasn't much to it. And if you wanted information, a walkthrough or something, it was through magazines or friends, things like that.
Small snippets or the strategy guide, like the big Morrowind huge strategy guide that's like hundreds of pages that I've always wanted to find but never could. Big tome, I need it now. I need to find an actual good copy of it. But yeah, it's like back in the day, there was barely anything kind of cataloging at all. And it's just impressive that they got so far with the tools that they had, you know, and there wasn't like much assets they could share from other like modders who like freely share their assets that you could use for other mod projects and stuff like that. It was pretty much all on their own, their one man kind of project idea, and it's very admirable.
I would agree that's a huge difference between Planet Elder Scrolls times, where you were right, a mod was a person making a mod, and maybe they would talk on the old Bethesda forum and ask for advice, that sort of things, but they were one-man project, whereas nowadays we have obviously Tamriel Rebuild, projects like Open Morrowind.
Absolutely.
And even more these days, modders are cooperating together, like, oh, I need an asset, I need a texture, can you do the code for this? And that's
Which
cool.
is always good. Which is always good to see, because they're really ambitious projects. I mean, what most of the mods are doing, if they're doing like huge overhauls of like mainland Vardenfell or Solstheim or even just like Tamriel Rebuilt, it's like one person's not going to do that. It's great to see that they're having teams so they don't have a breakdown. I mean,
yeah,
nowhere to stare, you know.
like that Tamriel Rebuild has been going on for years.
Yeah, a long time. I still have to try it, which is the main thing. It's the only reason I haven't yet is because it's a big project trying to tackle it, but
I know
it has been going on for so long.
I know. I haven't played much of it either, and the one thing that I love when going to the landmass added by Tamriel Rebuild is you can get a bit of that first time Morrowind feeling. Do you remember when you're off the boat?
Because it is just like mainland Morrowind is trying to be inspired by most of what Vardenfell is and trying to build up the mainland. So I never thought about it that way. Yeah, it is just like that first nostalgic feeling. So I guess I haven't played it too, since I kind of want to savor that a bit.
Here's my question: How much do you play Morrowind these days?
A decent amount. Now, I will say most of it is for recording, but I think people will be surprised that every now and again I do like casual kind of playthroughs. I'll just, this time I'll do the Morag Tong or something, or I'll join a house and I'll just kind of casually play through. Now, when Morrowind is like I think last year I was like really kind of focused on Morrowind. Now I'm a bit more of like a variety channel, but last year when I was doing it, I was playing Morrowind on stream, I was recording it and editing it, and you know, you'd record for multiple hours, you'd edit it for multiple hours, so you're just looking at Morrowind all day, you're making thumbnails, you upload the video, you're responding to comments, you're watching it back. It was a lot of Morrowind. But, so I've been slowly trying to space it out a bit, so it's not really more Morrowind all the time. I'd really kind of try and savor the game, because the last thing I want to do is, you know, get a bit tired or get a bit sick of it, so I'm always trying to find interesting mods to kind of cover, or... well, not really cover. I'm not like the modding showcase. I'm more just kind of reacting, even though I don't like that word react to in that kind of sense. But just finding really kind of strange stuff, I suppose.
And the best part about the Morrowind modding scene is if you take a 6 months break playing the game, you come back 6 months later and you have a whole bunch of new mods doing things that you didn't think were possible.
And there's so much new stuff, and even like every couple of weeks I check in, there's so much stuff even coming out, and it's just it's great to see. Even in this year, I know it's like 2022 and like everything like that, but the game is still going strong, even in some regards like stronger than ever. And kind of, you know, seeing like the modathons and everything, I follow along with those, and even like the modder interviews that you do, I watch along, and it's just that there's still a big community for it. And even my videos kind of show that there's absolutely still an audience for it, and maybe even most of the audience that maybe didn't grow up at Morrowind, maybe they more came in with like Skyrim and they want to see what the older game is like, and maybe they want kind of content that's more kind of easy to dip into or something like that. And I guess that's also the kind of way I try to see it, just trying to present the game in a way that I don't know, that just makes it appealing to people to want to come back to, or to at least come, if they played it when they were younger and haven't played it in years and they're nostalgic for it, to come back and try it again, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting to talk to, like I do watch a few people playing the game, and there's what I would call younger people playing the game, and here they are playing it vanilla with you know, the animations and all the things that are not that amazing 20 years later, and they enjoy it, and I'm like, well done, Morrowind, well done.
I was not expecting, because I always get people in like the Discord or something, and they're like, oh, I'm 17, 18, 19, and I'm playing the game, and I'm like, Jesus, even like that young, and they're still discovering it, you know. And it's just always kind of great to see, you know. It's just, these people are willing to give it a shot, and it is an enjoyable game. I mean, it's good. It's very good. We obviously enjoy it a lot.
Clearly,
I still think it's worth playing even now. I've always wanted to make like a joke video, like, is Morrowind, should you play Morrowind in 2022? And the video is just 1 second long and it just says yes.
Yes.
You know? Just play it, yeah, it's good.
I like that. Do it.
It's fine.
Do it, please.
I might do a free
Because
proposal.
there are longer versions of that.
Yeah.
You know, and telling you need this, you need that, but yeah, I like your version very much.
Because you always watch those videos and the ultimate answer is always yes. You know?
Yeah.
You don't talk about the game for 4 hours just to say no, you know.
No, very rarely so. Very rarely so. You started with Oblivion. Have you tried other games in the series?
I've gone back to the older ones since. I've always kind of been interested in Daggerfall. Like I go back to it every now and again because I just think it's so interesting for the time period. What they tried to do, that game is really ambitious. But the thing about Daggerfall is I try a couple of dungeons, I get lost, and I just can't hack it anymore. They're so long, and even if you look at the map, you know, it's like trying to find the entrance, and it's just this big Windows 98 maze of a thing, and I'm just like
3D.
I try to give it
3D
so
map.
many chances. I know. I try to give so many chances, and it's just. I enjoy it. I like the music.
Yeah, the music is cool. Have you tried with Daggerfall Unity?
I have, and that's great too because it also has like a. I think there's like a thing, I forget, it's like a plugin or something. You can make the dungeons kind of smaller and more
exactly that's why
manageable.
I bring it up. Yeah,
which is better. But the last time I played Daggerfall 2 with that installed, I did the main quest dungeon, and those aren't affected by smaller dungeons, I think. And I thought I was getting so much progress done walking around the dungeon for hours.
Oh, you mean the tutorial dungeon?
I think it's the first main quest one, like after the tutorial. It's like one of the kind of big ones.
I can't remember the name right now.
It's like the quest the queen gives you after. It's something like that, and I was just walking around this place for hours, thinking I was making great progress, and I looped around to the beginning. It's on stream. I think the stream's around somewhere, but I looped back to the beginning, and I'm like, well, the stream's over.
That's it, guys.
I was so defeated. I'm like,
Can't do
it. I went back to like Redguard and Battlespire, and Redguard was interesting. Battlespire, I'd rather not think about.
But you can talk to the scabs and all that.
They say manflesh, I think.
Yeah, have a fulfilling conversation with Daedra.
And you can't level up until you get to the next level. It's great.
I mean, it's yeah.
I was not having fun with it. I was trying to get Battlespire multiplayer going a few days ago with a friend just to try it, and we couldn't. And we were just like, the game's just cursed. We just
with Battlespire, I played hand to hand because I just could not fight properly. Like I was like, that's it. I'm just gonna punch them to death.
The swords too in that game are interesting because it looks like when you're using it as a sword animation, like you're just bonking him on the head. It's not like a stabbing motion. It's like you're just kind of
boink,
stick or something, yeah, until they fall over.
What about the more recent titles?
I like Skyrim. I mean, I think Skyrim's fun. I don't really go back to it as much, say, as like Morrowind or Oblivion, but I still enjoy it for like casual playthroughs every now and again. There's some interesting Skyrim kind of mods out there, but again, I've just always been kind of drawn to the Morrowind ones. Elder Scrolls Online is fun, but it's just a huge time sink with everything, and MMOs, they're just another kind of game to kind of grasp around, and one I almost kind of don't want to get invested in because it's just a huge time sink, you know the way.
Yeah. Yes, and then when you get started, you can't stop.
Yeah, you just want to explore everything, and there's so many quests and DLC, and there's like a Morrowind one and a Skyrim one and a Cyrodiil one. And I want to get to them all, but I also don't have the time. But I also want to buy every expansion that comes out.
Bethesda will be pleased to hear you say that.
I know, they're delighted with me, probably. Like the band they always wanted.
Is there any specific memory you have of playing Morrowind?
There was one I remember usually when I was younger. I think everyone has a general one where you try to attack a mud crab, you don't hit it in a few tries, and you're like, "What's this?" But I have like a very kind of like one that sticks out, at least. I can't think of the word, but I remember in Sadanine, it was like one of the first times I'm playing the game, and I was talking to NPCs, and they say something about rumors, and it's like, oh, in a cave, in a cave somewhere, there's something called the Mentor's Ring. And I'm like, oh, the Mentor's Ring, that's interesting. I want to find that. And the way they described it, and I can't remember exactly how they say the rumor. I'll probably go on tomorrow and later and see if I can find the rumor again. But I was like, oh, this ring could be anywhere. It could be in any cave. They were building it up as it's like this big like artifact. It's a strong ring, to be fair.
It is.
But like, I remember searching around like all the caves that I could. I was expected to be like past Balmora or something, or to be in the middle of the mainland. I'm like, where could this? Every time I went into a tomb, I was like, where could this ring be? The Mentor's ring. I want to find it.
This might be the one.
Yeah, I didn't look up any stats. I'm like, I want to find it for what it is. I don't want to know. They say in the game it's good. I want the full experience. And I think then I later found out that it's like right outside St. Denis Cave. It's like right next to Tower Hill when he falls down. It's like over on the left by the water, and it's inside. I'm like, oh, cool. It's just outside St. Denis. I was expected to just be just random kind of like all the way up north, full of danger or something, and it's like this big quest, but no, it's just right. Go left.
Little tomb. Go down.
There.
2
Ring's
rooms,
good.
and boom.
I think off memory, it's like wisdom and intelligence by 10 or something.
Yeah,
it's good
constant enchantment, which is pretty rare in Morrowind.
It is very good, and even if you're not a mage, it sells for a good bit of gold, so it's kind of decent. I think I put it into like a tips and tricks video where it's like, if you go here, there's a good ring, sell it or whatever, keep it.
The Mentor's ring, yes, one of the favorite item, and fairly easy to get unless you think it's anywhere across Vattenfell.
Yeah, not like my first few playthroughs where I was devoting too much time building up the hype in my head. What's it going to be like? It's just in a tomb by the water. There it is.
Yeah, but that's what makes the game fun.
Yeah, it is.
You don't know.
You kind of make your own story and you kind of build it up, and even just trying to find it, kind of building up the quest of that. It's like, I think Morrowind does that really well, where there is no kind of, there's a map system, but you're mainly giving it in directions, and NPCs are giving it to you, and it's really immersive in that when you're playing the game, you're not looking at a mini-map the whole time. You're looking at what's in front of you. You're looking at the environments, what the environment is telling you. You're looking for the tree by the stump, by the river, by the alcove, as the game says. You learn a lot about geography and geography terms from playing Morrowind as a child.
You do. You learn a lot about being patient as well.
I remember you do. You definitely. You really do learn patience from that game.
You have to.
Really.
You walk at like as fast as a snail.
Yeah. You have to wait for your fatigue to go up every time.
There we go.
You're waiting for chances to hit enemies and things like that. It's an important lesson, I will say.
There we go. Educational. Morrowind should be played in every school.
Better than the educational games that give us sometimes. At least we'd want to be invested in what we're reading.
You know what? Yeah. Also, you have to read. But it's not a bad idea, because like you tell the kids you're gonna play a game, they go yay, and they play it and they go, oh, this sucks, and I say, well, now learn coding and make it better.
Make your own story with it. And the thing about Morrowind is, even when you're a kid and it's like the only game you have, you kind of put up with it in a sense. It's like, well, this is the only PC game I have for a while. I'm just gonna let myself get immersed at least, and you keep trying it, and then it just kind of sticks, that kind of way. And I think the dialogue system, even just everything being text, works really well for modding, because you don't need to have like voice actors, which is brilliant.
Yeah,
it's like why I'm not really huge on Oblivion and Skyrim mods all that much, because the voice acting can just really take you out of it. Whereas in Morrowind, the only thing that can really take you out is like if it's like not the bestly written or kind of poorly written, or it's kind of
I think Morrowind kind of hit the sweet spot for modding, because the construction set is not too complex that you can't pick it up just by trying things out. As we said before, really that there was no tutorial at first.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you can do anything. You can learn it. Whereas I'm guessing with Skyrim, well, kind of hard to do anything really good if you don't have good voice actors, if you don't know Papyrus. So, yeah.
Also with Morrowind, I think it's because of the time period when you're making models, they don't have to be like the best looking high HD, Obviously, there's some very good looking models for Morrowind, but if you're playing something like Skyrim and it's like a HD game, your models need to like look the part to fit into the world. And with Morrowind 2, there is that to an extent, but you can kind of sacrifice a few polygons here and there to make it kind of fit in with the general theme if you're not playing with these like huge overhaul mods and that kind of way. And it's also just a fantasy world. I feel like you can go a bit kind of further with it, where something like Skyrim, it's more kind of like very Lord of the Rings fantasy, just forests and things. Whereas in Morrowind, you can go a bit out there with what you're creating, and it generally almost kind of fits in most of the time.
Yeah, agreed. That reminds me when I was talking with Alien Sloth, who's been modding Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout as well now. But as the name indicates, she was very, very into Alien versus Predator, and so her first Morrowind stories were a mixture of Morrowind and Alien. But you know what? That works. Everybody says Morrowind is very alien in nature, so that works.
I mean, you go into a Quama cave and it does feel very alien. You know, everything going on, the systems in place and everything. So it absolutely completely works. Yeah.
What the heck is that
going on? But you're fascinated. You just want to learn more, and you want to read up on the lore of them to see how it all intricately fits in, instead of just going into a cave and it's full of goblins and you're like, okay, there's goblins.
Dead. Yeah, I don't know that there's a lot of people wondering about the life cycle of a goblin, whereas there's been pages written about the life cycle of the Quama.
Yeah, absolutely. People are so invested, which I love to see. It's great to see their enthusiasm for like the random creatures, and I too was obsessed with like scribs now and etches and everything as a kid, so they're just great fun to draw, even just casually. So it's just the creature design, I could go on for days with it, but it's just nailed so well in Morrowind, you know.
You say they were fun to draw. Do you draw as well?
Every now and again. I'm a small bit of an artist now. It's one of those things where it comes back every kind of few months, and then I get back into it, and it's like I never stopped, thankfully. But Morrowind is great inspiration for art. I mean, I always have artists on my Discord who play the game, and they draw like cliff racers along with my streams or something like that, or scribs, and we're obsessed with like the muck sponge because we just think it's funny. People keep drawing muck sponges in my community. I think on one stream you had to find a muck sponge, and I kept talking about it, so it just became a meme in my community. So we have loads of drawings of muck plants and things like that. But Morrowind is just great for drawing. Even just like Stealth Striders, they're just their design, and there's simplicity, but there's complexity to it too. So it's chill to draw, but it looks, you know, if you were to see someone's sketchbook full of Morrowind sketches, it'd be really impressive for what it is, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a big source of inspiration. And another thing that most people mention when they're asked about Morrowind, so that the alien nature of it, but also the freedom of it. You can do anything. You can make up any story you want.
You can, you absolutely can. You can fill in your character's bio. I mean, it's brilliant in that kind of sense. And it's the first time I ever kind of played a game like that, where in Oblivion I was really impressed with like the openness of the game at the time, but with Morrowind and its skills and its system and its magic, just like go on about the magic. It's
making spells. Always fun.
And even just the alchemy systems and everything for it. It's just, there really is so much creative freedom for it, where Morrowind really does push the RPG kind of format of, you start as like a prisoner who just leaves the ship in like rag clothing or whatever, and then you can end the game being a literal demigod of the entire world who just rules over everything, and it actually is what it is. You can be that type of character, or you can just like roleplay as a settler or something, or as like an assassin, or whatever kind of cool you want to fit in. I think Morrowind is the best kind of game for really role-playing as a certain character, because you actually can go out and do it, instead of Skyrim where you're destined to be the Dragonborn. I feel like a Morrowind, you can just kind of ignore your destiny, or you can better ignore it, where the game is like, you don't have to be the Nerevarine, you can just do whatever. You can join a fighter's guild if you want, and that's fine.
Collect eggs.
Collect eggs, collect plants. That's the only thing I remember as a kid too, collecting like multiple plants for the Mages Guild, and having a great time with that.
Yep, definitely. The way I've solved that for myself, I play Permadeath, and I suck at the game. That's the truth. I need to be honest. I suck at the game. I usually die within 5 minutes. But because it takes a whole hour to create the character and go, oh yeah, and I think she's scared of rats because, and you know, just go and make the story even before I'm in the game.
I think I did like one Permadeath stream. It's also something I kind of wanted to go back to, but again, it's like the same thing where I really suck. I remember I spawned in like a random location because I did like an alternate start mod and I died immediately. But then we made like a character who was like an Argonian, and he goes into all like the kind of slavery areas and tries to free his friends and runs out, and it's just fun. It's just fun for a stream. I think Morrowind is really great for kind of Permadeath too, and the best thing about Morrowind for kind of things like that is that even if you're not using like a quick introduction mod or something, the intro for Morrowind is generally pretty quick anyway, which is good to see, even though we've all seen it how many times, so we're a bit sick of it, even we download alternate start mods. But it's not like Skyrim or Oblivion or something where it just takes forever to get started. In Morrowind, it's like you're on the ship, you sign your papers, and off you go. Generally, you know, it's not too bad.
Yeah. Go to that place to talk to that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe, and here are directions that you won't be able to follow. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Even as geez, I was lucky I even found Balmora as a child.
Definitely some fond memories there.
Absolutely.
So I think it would be fair to say that even 20 years after the game was released, it still means quite a lot. Yes,
it absolutely does. It gave me my career now, which I'm really thankful for. I mean, Morrowind is always going to be a part of me for a long time. It's always going to be a mainstay on the channel. It's always going to be around. Most of my posts on Twitter are about Morrowind anyway, you know, and Elder Scrolls in general. So it still absolutely means a lot. And the fun thing is even making content about it and, you know, being involved like the modding community or the Elder Scrolls community in general, it kind of makes the game mean more in a sense. You'd think you'd get sick of it after so long, but the more you delve into it, the more you start to appreciate what it really is, and it just gives you like a higher appreciation for it. So I'm absolutely very thankful for it.
Definitely. And you know what, that a lot of people that work around Morrowind, either making an engine for it, making videos for it, and when I ask them, so you play the game often, and they go, well, not that much. Even without playing the game, it's still ever so present in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is great to see. It's weird how that's so common with modders. They just work on the game so much. It's like, do you play it often? And it's like, no, not really as much.
No, modders are the worst players. The worst.
Which is surprising because most like, yeah, I play it pretty often. I enjoy it. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I played. I got to Balmora, and then I overhauled the whole game.
I always hear that too, with like modders who really kind of install a whole bunch of mods and mod packs. So, like they'll spend the whole day modding the game, then like 10 minutes kind of running around
and then realize that they need to find a mod that will do that special thing.
Yeah, and then they spend all their time looking for that specific thing, and then they just go down a rabbit hole looking for other mods then and trying to add so much.
Yeah, that's how it happens. Like you feel, at least that's how it is for me. Like I feel I cannot play the game until I have a mod that does that one thing. If I can do it myself, brilliant. I'll be busy for the next couple of months. I'll be fine. Otherwise, I'll just to beg people to make the mod.
It's funny with me with Morrowind too, because people ask me a lot, oh, what kind of mods do you use? Well, what do you kind of play through it? And I don't generally use too much mods if I'm playing casually. Like, I use like the graphic extender, or I use Open Morrowind if mods are compatible with that. But I generally just use vanilla game, graphic extender, up the view distance, make the water look a bit nice, and put up the resolution, and generally that's it. Also like the code patch, like fix bugs and stuff, but I generally play it very kind of vanilla because I really appreciate the vanilla art style. I know some people really don't going back to it, but I still think it's pretty charming. And while the character models have dated a lot, I think that game in like a higher resolution and the view distance up a good bit, I still think the distance and the landscape and everything looks pretty stunning at times still.
It really means like a game that is modded, you know, just right, not over the top, but just right. Morrowind doesn't look 20 years old, that's for sure.
Yeah, it absolutely holds up, and that's the great thing too, is people can install these mods and come back to it, and it can almost feel like a kind of a modern or a new kind of Elder Scrolls game, so that kind of tides them over for how many years they have to wait longer for the next one. So
shall we talk about the next one?
I don't even know what there is to talk about with the next one. I never know what to say. You have a logo, that's it.
Oh yeah, and then there was a trailer as well, I remember that.
Yeah. I mean, there's not kind of too much where... I know it's going to be more kind of inspired by Skyrim than it is the other Elder Scrolls games, so I'm not going to let myself get kind of too hyped for an intricate kind of RPG anyway, but I'm interested to see what it is, what it's like, but again, it's when we'll see it, you know.
We will wait and see. I think the important thing is to not build any sort of expectations.
Yeah, not too much anyway.
For sure. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Until then, fortunately, there's Morrowind.
We have Morrowind, and that's going to keep us going for hopefully many more years. I can't see myself stopping it anytime soon. So,
well, there's a question I have for you. What shall we expect for Morrowind's 30th anniversary? Do you think there's going to be one?
I hope I still have a career on YouTube by that time. That's the hope. That's my main worry. But
good.
It's interesting because there'll be so much kind of. I still think there'll be a good modding community around the game even by then. But it'd be interesting to see what the landscape is around by then. But I don't even know. It's just like there'll still be the community, even a lot more of a nostalgic community for it. Especially for like older RPGs as the time goes on. But
the nostalgia is important. There's a lot of people in the Morrowind subreddit, for example, and they're there every day and they're posting things, but they haven't played the game in years. But it's a special game, and if you say, so are you playing it? No. Do you intend to play it again? No, probably not. But the game is still, super important to them.
Enjoyable, and the game has like 4 music tracks, but people still listen to them non-stop because they're just so effective. It's good stuff even. And to be fair, I can kind of understand people maybe wanting to leave some games in the past to keep that kind of nostalgia. But
no, I don't know. There are games that people loved, but they would never play them 20 years later.
That's the thing. I have those kind of games too, where I'm just like, I think I'd rather leave that as a memory in the past and go back to it. I'm almost afraid of what it'll be like, but with Morrowind, it's one of those games where it's always been installed on one of my PCs, so I've always been kind of inclined to go back to it anyway. And I love Elder Scrolls, so it's not something I'd stop playing anytime soon.
Yeah, no, I think I'm good for that. I have 6 different installs of Morrowind on my computer.
Really?
Yes. The one with Unmod, the one for Open Morrowind, the one for testing mods, the one for playing Permadeath, the one anyway.
I think I have 3 overall, but I have to reinstall Morrowind at least once every month because I download so many weird mods that just break it. Like they just completely overwrite everything in the game files. I have to restart from scratch.
And now all your lights are purple.
Yep. And your main menu is weird and it's playing different music, and I can't fix it.
Good times. One thing that I love about mods is how the mods do weird stuff because and then it's even better because it's a special story that's happening in your game and nobody planned for that.
That's the kind of beauty of Elder Scrolls games in general. It's just your stories and playthroughs are so personal to you and what happens in them. And plus people were playing Morrowind, they have so many combinations of mods and everything, and it really is just their own kind of personal playthrough. Like even with Morrowind, if I would just tell people, show me what your Morrowind character right now looks like, it's all going to be really different. It's not going to be like Oblivion where they all wear the same fur gear or whatever. In Morrowind, you can just mix and match greaves and cuirasses and boots and clothing and everything. All the characters look so unique to people's playthroughs, and it's just the best part of it. It's very customizable.
In that, don't tell anyone, okay? But in that respect, I think Daggerfall was even better than Morrowind.
It was to some extent. I saw one. I don't know if it was a mod you put out, but was it for Daggerfall? It's a system I really like, where you have to, if you found an enchanted item, you had to like identify it.
Yeah, that's a Morrowind mod, and that's mine. I mean, the idea is mine. The coding is not.
Sure, I saw that really. I saw that recently, and I'm like, that worked brilliant for Morrowind, because I kind of like that in Daggerfall, finding something in it too, and then you bring it back to the city to find out what it is, and you spend a load of money to find out. Even if it's good or bad, it's just fun, like the luck of the draw or whatever. But
it's all about the expectation building up. It's just like the Mentor's Ring.
Yeah, exactly. What is this cool item that's like glowing? That's what I love too about Daggerfall and Morrowind. If you find like an enchanted item, it like glows and has this whirlwind around it, and it's like, ooh, this is interesting. Even if it's like an iron dagger, it's like, this is cool.
Even if it ends up being Fargoth's ring.
Just hide it in a stump somewhere, you just can't be bothered to look at it.
No, even Fargoth doesn't wear it. To be fair, a lot of players actually keep it. Like, it can heal you.
Yeah.
It can save your life.
It's really useful for like challenges when you're starting off the game at like level 1 when I do them. For like the small little health boost, but once you get to like level 2 or 3, it's like already it's kind of worthless because it doesn't heal that much. But it's useful at the start a little bit.
And it's an item like I never sell it. Never.
Yeah, I barely ever sell it too. I think because it's not really worth that much anyway. So we're
No,
just like,
no, it's not. It's got a lot more value somewhere on a shelf in a house of somebody you killed because you wanted their house.
Absolutely, it's an iconic item, so it's kind of worth keeping around for that sense.
It's an artifact at this point. Right, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to talk about?
I think we touched on the majority of it.
We've talked quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah. I guess the only smaller thing is that I really kind of covered the Morrowind mods that other... It's strange me talking to mod creators because I cover the mods that aren't very serious or lore friendly. I would say I cover the ones that are generally kind of jokes or being kind of really kind of out there. Like I covered the one where it puts like an inspired landmass of like Russia into Morrowind now and covering that sort of thing. And I guess that's what I tried to pride my channel in being unique. It's like finding the really kind of out there Morrowind stuff. So
really kind out there Morrowind. Yeah. It's really, really out there.
Like I found one recently with dragons in it, and that was really cool. Like I barely hear anyone talk about it. Yeah, it was really fun.
Was it Reign of Fire?
That's the one, and it was like
love it.
That one's kind of it's older. Well, not too old, but it's a few years back, right?
It's amazing. It's amazing. I love it. You could ride the dragon. You could feed your dragon. It had video cutscenes.
I was just gonna say when you're running into Caldera, you're given the perspective of the dragon flying in.
Do you know what that particular scene where the dragon comes in, and we were talking about how modders had to use hacky ways to give you that sort of cutscene where you see what the dragon sees. Basically, what the modder did, he placed the player on top of the dragon. And then puts you back where you were. Except for me, I was doing the Geob challenge, and that went on for a long time. And the goal was to get rid of the cliff races, which we did. And when that was done, I was like, okay, next up, we're gonna deal with dragons. So I go to Caldera, the scene is triggered, I get on top of the dragon, but it was heavily modded. So instead of the script putting me back, it just dropped me on the ground where I died. And I was like, that's it. That's the end of Geob's adventures.
Oh, really? It just stops right there?
Yep. No, it doesn't. There was a bug. Like, normally...
Even I would have argued, like, that was a bit unintentional, but maybe...
It was not intentional. Like, I fell from the dragon's back, essentially, but...
Oh, that's awful.
It was perfect. It was perfect. That was the end of my adventures. I was like, I couldn't have thought of a better ending for the adventures.
It's a cool ending to fall off a dragon and just die in Caldera.
That was it. Basically, my Geo died. He was terrorized and he dies of fear. Right here, right there, seeing the dragon.
Better than like dying in a random cave out of nowhere when you weren't expecting it to.
I've been there, done that. Death by rats and yeah, all of that. MickyD, thank you so much for reminiscing about Morrowind with me.
Thank you for having me.
Super fun.
I think it's a great event. I can't wait to see the final thing. I know it's a bit of ways from now, but it's good to have some kind of event that kind of celebrates Morrowind in general. So I'm really glad to see it was put together.
Well, I'm really glad to talk to you and talk to a whole bunch of people.
Thank you. It was fun to talk about it. You're just imagining the amount of people you still have to go through. Did many more apply for interviews?
Many more. In fact, I realize now I have more people who said, yeah, sure, let's do it, than weeks, because the idea is to have one episode every week leading up to the anniversary, and I've run out of weeks.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So
every half week or something.
We'll continue until nobody wants to talk to me. That's it.
That's a good idea. Yeah, you just keep going after the 20th, the year of Morrowind.
All the way to the 30th. That's the plan. Sure. There we go. We worked it out.
That's a good plan.
Thank you so much for talking to me. I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm sure at some point I'll probably share it anyway when my part is on, or whenever the event starts in general anyway. I'll be sure to share it around and things like
Definitely. Talk to you soon then.
Right, talk to you soon. Cheers for having me.